Howdy doody, my name is Susie and today I am going to be showing you how to make fermented ketchup at home. It is very delicious, it's really easy to make, and it's full of probiotics because we're actually fermenting the ketchup. I think everybody knows the importance of good gut health in preventing illnesses and disease. So let's get to it. It really is super easy to make. This is something that you can make with your children. It's almost like a science project because there's some fermentation going on. So let me get to it and show you exactly what you have to do. You're going to need a 1.5 cups of tomato paste, and you can pick whatever tomato paste that you're accustomed to, that you like the flavor, but you just want simple tomato paste, whether it's organic or some other name brand. If you happen to make your own tomato paste, that's even better. So 1.5 cups of tomato paste. You're going to need some whey. You're going to need some water. You're going to need a form of sweetener. So either sugar or honey or maple syrup. You're going to need a little bit of onion powder, apple cider vinegar, and for spices, you're going to need allspice. And if you don't have allspice, I'm going to show you how to make allspice. So let's get started. The first thing, we're also going to need a jar to put our tomato paste in to ferment and turn it into ketchup. So you need a large mason jar, which I have here. So to get started, we're going to add our tomato paste. So again, as I said, each tin is approximately 1/2 cup, and what we want is 1.5 cups of your favorite tomato paste. And you'd want you just want a tomato paste that you are accustomed to eating, that you know the flavor and you like the flavor. So don't go for anything fancy. You just want plain tomato paste. You're going to be adding the spices yourself to it and creating that fermented ketchup, which is, it's really delicious. Now I love making recipes for things that I'm eating often, and ketchup is one of those things that chances are, if your kids like ketchup, they're eating it quite often. So those types of products where you're consuming it on a regular basis, I think are really important to try and make yourself and make them as nutrient dense as you possibly can. So there's our 1.5 cups of tomato paste. So to that, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of whey. Now I wanted to show you, I didn't make any yogurt or cheese, so I did have a store-bought container of plain yogurt, and what I've done is I've just drained off the liquid that's sitting on top. That is actually whey. Now I had 1 tablespoon of it. You actually need 2 tablespoons, and all I did was I put some yogurt in my sieve, and I've just had it sitting here for a few minutes, 10 minutes, and from that the whey has been strained. So now I can use my 2 tablespoons of whey. Now the whey also gives the ketchup, it removes some of that acidic flavor because it's a milk based. So it really kind of softens and smooths out any acidity that you may find in ketchup, and I personally love that. So to that 2 tablespoons of the whey, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This happens to be the apple cider vinegar that I made, but of course use your own apple cider vinegar, and if it's organic, that's even better. So you want 3 tablespoons of the apple cider vinegar. Put that here. And then we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. Now allspice is actually the berry of a Jamaican tree, but if you don't have allspice, 3 spices that you could combine to replicate the allspice would be equal parts of clove, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So if you don't have the allspice, you can use a teaspoon of salt. We're gonna mix that together. A quarter of a teaspoon of onion powder. Now, I mean, you can start off with this recipe, and if the taste isn't to your liking, you can leave out the onion powder, or you can leave out the allspice and maybe just add cloves, or you could add garlic powder to it, or you could add ginger to it. You can add basically any spice that you like to this ketchup and create your own special recipe that is perfect for your taste liking. Now, before I add the water, which is really just to give me the right consistency of ketchup that I want, we need to add the sugar, because the ketchup is going to feed off the sugar, and that's what's going to create the bubbles and ferment our ketchup. So you can either use a quarter of a cup of raw sugar or any kind of sugar. You want to avoid using processed sugar because you're trying to create something that's healthy for you. So either a quarter of a cup of the raw sugar, or you can use 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. So that's what I'm going to use. 1, 2, and 3. And you need the sugar in this recipe in order for it to ferment. The whole point is to have this fermented so that you have that additional benefit of it being a healthy food that you're consuming. And that's pretty well it. Just one word of advice: if you are going to use a quarter cup of sugar, use a little bit of your water to dissolve it in the separately before you actually add it to the recipe. So to this, now I've mixed this up very well. To this, we're going to add up to 1/3 of a cup of distilled water or spring water, any kind of water that is not from your tap, because again, the chemicals that are in the tap water, such as chlorine, etc., may not allow your recipe to actually ferment properly. So you want to use water that has nothing in it. So that's still a little thick. I'm going to continue adding my water. And by all means, if you like your ketchup super runny, you can add a bit more water to this. But I think 1/3 of a cup, I might as well use the rest. 1/3 of a cup is good. I like the consistency. It's nice all the time. You can even use it, it tastes so good, you can use it in different recipes. If you want a little zip to your barbecued pork chops or anything on the barbecue, it would really be really delicious. So that's it for the recipe. You're just mixing all those things together. We're just going to fill our jar, and I've made a mess in my jar, so we'll just clean it up. And now all we're going to do is we're going to put the lid on the jar, and we're going to leave it closed on the counter so that I can watch it for the next couple of days. If you find that in 2 to 3 days you have a lot of activity and it's really bubbling, then it's time to put it in the fridge. You're also going to burp your jar every day, and that just means there's going to be gases that are building up. You just want to open it up and release the gases and then close it back up. So burp your jar every day, no more than 5 days. As soon as it starts bubbling, you can dispense it and put it in the fridge. Now, I forgot to mention that this is really the way it's going to taste in 5 days, except that the flavors are going to be a little bit richer and deeper. but you can taste it. And if you feel that you would like more salt or more pepper or anything really, you can add to it. Just remember that the flavor is going to, obviously, it's going to kind of mature because it's going to be fermented, so it's going to have a bit of a different flavor. So I hope that you enjoy this recipe. I hope you try it. It's super easy. And I guarantee you, once you taste this ketchup and you've made it once, you'll want to make it all the time. It's just delicious. So I hope you try it, and if you like it, I hope you share it. Enjoy!